Hello everyone, welcome back to the First Row Racing Hub. We've had a few weeks, it's been a decent amount of time, I'd say it's been probably about a month now. But welcome back to another Row Racing Hub. As you can see, the picture for this video will be your Season 3, Gen 3 final season champion, Forza Blade. His car and his beautiful trophy up there. Speaking of that, I will be hosting Row Racing Hub this season once again, with my main co-host being SupremeBlocc, and our guest today being Forza Blade. He will not be talking, but I will read what he says. So this Row Racing Hub will be about how we think, expect Speedweeks to go, how we expect and think tryouts will go, how we think the next season's playoff predictions could go, possibly. Some other things, probably, but I'd say those are probably the main ones. We talk about how a new team could form in D1, D2, or D3, or maybe even all three of them, depending on how many tryouters we get, how many pass it, and what manufacturer we think they'd be, or what would be the most logical choice for manufacturers, and if they'd be any competition. So with that, I think we'll get started. So, Supreme, how do you think the 2-mile flat banked, or well, both of you actually, Forza, just type this while I ask it. How do you guys think that the 2-mile Michigan International Speedway Clash will be with high downforce and 800 horsepower? And how do you expect it? So both of those, kind of.
Okay. First things first. I expect it to be it's the duels, right? Or is it the clash?
Clash.
Okay. I expect this to be another race where it's probably gonna be like one or two people dominating the race.
Yeah, I could see
Mm.
that. I see 1 to 3 people probably dominating the Clash. I mean, that's why we don't run
I
Michigan.
also see a surprise winner winning the class. The clash. I also see a surprise winner.
Yeah, I can see that too. Pretty much the same. I think we've seen the dominance. Um, we've seen the dominance that Forza has had um, at Michigan. Yeah, back to that. Forza Blade has had some really good history at Michigan International Speedway. Again, pretty much a flat bang 2-mile V-shaped oval. Um,
It's not even flat.
I will say the package that he did run was a 600 horsepower low downforce package. So significant amount of difference between those Gen 2 D2 cars, 600 low to Gen 4 Cup 800 high. Big significant difference there. So yeah, I see what you're saying. I think 1 to 3 people would probably dominate um, at the Clash at Michigan. Uh, First off, Michigan International Speedway was chosen to be the Clash since this will be, I think, this would have been the second season straight without a 2-mile track on the Cup schedule because it is usually spread apart. It can be fun, but usually it's just pretty medium draft, pretty decent speeds, but just spaced apart fuel strategy racing. Um, and I think with this higher horsepower, higher speeds, we could maybe go for a slightly looser setup to have We have some decent line, but I think we can maybe get one or two more racing lines in there. Maybe some high line scripts to help make that race entertaining. I'm gonna expect 1 to 3 drivers to dominate, or I'm gonna expect some good racing off the first few laps of a restart and of the race. Maybe spread apart a bit, and then a fuel strategy come into play, so it will really show dominance, and it'll really just show dominance. I think practice for the Michigan clash will actually be released tonight into tomorrow, because that's pretty much done. So that's pretty much what I expect. Forza, what do you want and expect from the Michigan clash? Forza said, well, I think it'll be a fairly good race. If you look back at the history in the league, the track definitely produced good racing with D1 and D2 championship, with D1 and the D2 championship. But I can also easily see 1 or 2 cars pulling away and dominating. I myself personally love the track, but with the increase in downforce and horsepower, it'll definitely be more of a challenge for the drivers. You couldn't have said that better, not gonna lie. Yeah, I think the Michigan Clash will be good. I think it's a lot different from what we normally do, and that'll actually only be the third time in history we race Michigan. Michigan actually just used to be one of the 3 tryout tracks until season 4 now. So for 3 seasons, it was just a tryout track and only raced in the D2 schedule once. So trying to put it back on the schedule. Not a points paying race, but still a decent event to be the Clash. So first race, debut of the Gen 4 in an actual league sanctioned race. So pretty cool for that track to be involved more than they have been before. Okay, now to the duels. Now the duels format is almost done, but we pretty much have some insight of what it's going to be like. Just heard a gunshot. Okay. Back to that. The format of the duel is almost done, but we have some fairly good insight to what it'll be like. By the looks of it, depending on the lineups, or depending on the D1 lineup that is due by December 4th. So all teams have 8 days, so we'll have 1 week after tryouts to figure out their D1, D2, and D3 teams and what numbers they'll be driving. So plenty of time there. You got 7 days. So since D1 teams will be in by then, we'll see. I mean, let's say we can have one, or I'd say probably 1 or 2. We could probably get 1 or 2 new D1 drivers from tryouts tomorrow, depending on the amount that join, including private tryouts. If there's let's say there's 12 or more, including private tryouts. I'll have to see that list from Forza once we're done with public to see how many pass. Let's say 12 pass, including private tryouts. We'll probably have 1 or 2. Well, actually, we'll just have one of them go to D1, the best one, and the rest on skill that us admins see, or high ranks, and we'll see which of those other 8 to 12 or whatever, see whether they go to D2 or D3. We need at least 6 drivers to start a division, so I prefer more of them to go to D2, but I really want to get truck started too. I'd say my goal is 8 and 8, 8 D2, 8 D3. And some may just be split up into D3, just to kind of start the trucks up. So yeah, so back to the duels. I don't even know how many D1 drivers there are. Let's say there's 15 registered. Let's say there's 16 registered D1 drivers. It'll be half and half. Duel 1 will be one half. The second duel, the other 20 laps will be the second half of the duels, or the second half of drivers. It'll be a 10-car field, I believe. Depending on that, it'll probably be 10 or 12-car field. So if there's 15, it'll be, or 15 or 16, whatever. And it'll be anywhere from like 7 to 8. So I'd say 8. 8 drivers in each one. So, I'm trying to think here. I didn't really think this over. Top whatever in both those duels, if you combined them. So top, how many did I say would be in them? Supreme? Did I say like 8? I think I said 8. So it'd be top whatever finishes in those duels. It'd be like the last 2 or 3 positions that would not make the 500. I think it may be changed because it may be unfair if someone gets wrecked or something. Because if Forza Blade kind of struggles, and let's say he's in the first duel, if he kind of struggles in his mid-pack and then gets shuffled to the back and like turn 3 and 4 the last lap and finishes last, there's a chance he won't qualify for the Daytona 500. But we could also do it time-wise. We could do it by lap timing. Obviously, it'd be very close in lap times, but lap timing could be the way we do it. There's kind of it's those 2 ways. I think lap timing is probably the closest. That's what I've heard from other people. So I'd say lap timing is probably going to be the choice for the duels. We'll just look at the fastest times of every driver in those duels, in those 20 laps, and see who makes it. How do you two feel about the timing thing for the duels? Like top 6 or whatever in both those duels. Top 5 in those 8. Now it's a 12-car limit, so we'll do 4 of those drivers, 2 in each duels, will not make it. So the 2 slowest in duels 1 and 2 will not qualify for the 500 in lap times anyway. How do you guys feel about that system?
Why can it be just by race position?
Off position?
Yeah,
In my
just race
personal
position.
opinion, I like the timing position, like the time position, so it shows. Well, it
I
doesn't
don't
really
think
show
the
anything
time
different.
would matter because everyone will practically have the same time since it's Daytona.
That's true, but I just feel like it'd be a little bit more fair than position, because if you get shuffled or bumped out of the way, like coming to the line and you finish like last, especially if you dominate most of the duel. If you get bumped from like first to last or get wrecked on white flag and like 3 and 4 into the tri-oval and finish last, I feel like that's kind of unfair to not make the 500. But
I don't
it'll
think
be
that
a
would be.
it'll be a high ranked choice on how the duels will be. So it's pretty much there could be a plan C for the duels, but I'd say those are the 2 options for the duel format. Forza said, gonna be honest, not really a fan of the lap time idea. For example, 2 drivers could just drop to the back and just draft off of each other for the entire duel. And at that point, it just becomes a qualifying session. Which, you're not wrong, you're not wrong. Racing is racing. If someone goes from first to last in turn 1, then unfortunately, that's just the way it has to be. I think I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's what the duel is going to be. Position. You've got 20 laps. I believe there will be no pitting. It'll just be a straight line run, 20 laps. Every duels are like just a couple minutes apart, so everyone will join. The other half of drivers will watch from the pit boxes or whatever. They'll just watch, and then they'll just switch into their own cars and go. So, okay. Now to the Daytona 500. How do you guys expect, want, and think it'll go?
At the beginning, it will be a wreck fest at the beginning, but as the race goes on, it'll probably be more organized. And
Yeah,
then the final lap, and then the final lap probably gonna be crazy, just like it was last season, where like 3 people wreck on the white flag or something.
yeah. I think it's gonna be maybe a wreck fest or not so clean racing for the first no more than the first quarter of the race. And then I think as it goes on, we'll get cleaner, get to more actual pack racing. I think when fuel strategy comes into play, I think it could possibly split the pack how it did. Um, I know in the Pepsi 400 last season, the cutoff for or to make the playoffs, I know that the last Daytona race in Gen 3, it was it was probably a 4-star race. It was pretty good. I mean, once fuel strategy came into play, we other cars work with each other, would be about a second apart, drop back a little bit, and then instead of just bump drafting and side drafting a bit, it would be just slingshotting off each other and passing. So you'd be going like you get a good run going like 200 compared to 195 or something. You get a great run on the outside, clearing by about a car length, and you just keep drafting off each other, gaining time, getting a decent amount of time every lap until you got up to the main pack. So yeah, I think it'll be pretty good. I mean, we had 700 horsepower high downforce, stage 2 restrictor plate of 5 stages. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be stage 2 restrictor plate, 800 horsepower high downforce. It's going to be essentially the same. A little bit slower run. It's going to be a little more realistic. Um, yeah, I liked how the Gen 3 was. Bump drafting was partially it was non-existent. But I kind of liked how the Daytona spread apart racing was. I think it was interesting to see 2 to 4 cars work with each other, just passing each other, just working with each other to draft, even their rivals or something, or enemies. They just draft. Yeah, I expect it to go like that. I think it will go like that. Just bump draft, a little more entertaining. I'd say 4.5 star. Um, yeah. Forza said it's going to start just like every other NAPRA race. Chaos at the start until a front pack forms. Maybe about 1 green flag stop happens, a couple of cautions here and there, and an overtime finish. I know that this Daytona race is going to be around 80 or 90 laps. So I'd say probably 2 or 3 green flag pit stops, maybe. I don't know, something like that. Especially with this new package coming in play. Daytona's probably 3/4 of the way done. Same with the Clash. It's pretty much 3/4 of the way done. So back to it. Now to the team. If there was a new team in we'll start with D1 actually. If there was a new team in the NAPRA Auto Parts Cup Series, considering the package at every track, the schedule, and how the big teams are, the big teams with D2 and what will be D3 teams, because Bear Motorsports already has a D3 driver. But yeah, back to it. If there's a new team, how do you guys think they would do compared to the other teams, and how do you think they'll fit in? And what manufacturer do you think it'd be?
If there's a new team, it'll probably be gone within like a couple of races, and it won't be that competitive at all. I'm just being completely honest.
What manufacturer do you think would be the smartest for them to be?
Probably Chevy or Ford, because Toyota is not really that popular here, anyways.
Okay. I know Fusion Motorsports has switched over to Toyota this season. They went from Dodge to Toyota. So for the first time since season, first time since season 1, Toyota is actually going to have a competitive team. Season 1, they won the championship, the first championship of the NAPRA and NAPCS. Season 2, they weren't competitive at all. Season 3, even worse. And then Season 4, they're starting to climb back up the charts at a decent speed, I'd say. I'm going to say, if there's a new team, I'm going to say 1 or 2 drivers. I'm going to say they're either going to go with Toyota or Dodge, to be honest. I think those are the 2 manufacturers that are really kind of more. I'd say they're. I don't want to say Toyota is more appealing, but I think Dodge is the most appealing because it's not typically normal to see Dodge. But I think those 2 teams would kind of be the most logical because Toyota isn't really that popular, so it could really. Or they really haven't been popular since season 1 and part 2, so. Plus, Fusion is just now going to Toyota, so I think another new Toyota team, I think that could really help the hype. I think Chevy would probably be the least logical team to go for, to be honest, because Bear Motorsports, or not Bear Motorsports, Chevy's seen some hype, but their hype's been just pretty much sticking with Bear Motorsports. I mean, same with every manufacturer, pretty much. But I think Ford wasn't really Ford was competitive in season 2, but not 1. Or well, they were partially competitive in season 2, not 1 though. And then season 3, midway through, they just took off and were definitely a very popular manufacturer. And I think season 4, if there's a new 14, that'd probably be the second most logical team behind Toyota to go, or team manufacturer to go for, besides Toyota, because there's just not really many teams for Ford, or well, never really were. So the same thing as Toyota. And I think it'd be good to see BTM get some competition to every manufacturer, but to Dodge, I think it'd be the second to least logical, so third, because STB Racing going to Penske Racing is the first ever Dodge team since the start. They were the first Dodge team, and they've really just held it on. And it looks like they're going to keep it holding. Looks like every team we have so far is going to keep its competitiveness. Not too sure about Fusion Motorsports since they're switching to Toyota, because we don't really have many. We haven't seen many tests from Fusion Motorsports so far in the off season in the Gen 4. So Fusion Motorsports was Dodge. So yeah, I think it'll be cool to see them kind of grow with Toyota. STP Racing, back to them. Since they were the first ever Dodge team that still kept dominant, even going into the Gen 4, it looks like really different car and everything, chassis. I think they're gonna stick. So yeah. And then Chevy last, because I already stated that. Forza said if a new team enters the scene, I think they have to hit the ground running. Because when I first started Blaze Technology Motorsports, trust me, it was not easy. For a good 75% of the season, it was just me alone trying to survive because I couldn't find committed drivers. But if a new team joins, especially now, so many new drivers coming in, it'll definitely be easier for them. Which I agree with 100%. That's why I think Toyota or Ford would be the most logical choice since they're not really the most popular. I mean, Ford I would say is the most popular right now because of that championship. But I don't think that may not be able to hold going into the next season. Fusion, back to Fusion, he said, or Forza, he said, lastly, I would hope Ford, since they're kind of the young up and coming manufacturer. Yeah, I say Toyota and Ford are probably the top 2 manufacturers for a new team to go with. I would expect them to probably get 1 or 2 wins on the season. That's being 1 or 2 drivers. And then I'd say the next season probably go to 3 or 4. And then really bring them back up. Oh yes, yeah, I actually looked at that. Blaze Technology Motorsports is the predecessor of Go Speed Racing. If I actually pull this up, I actually saw this the other day. Um, yeah, let me look here. I read this probably like 2 days ago. Because I had a list of Go Speed Racing here. Go Speed Racing, when it was in season 2, Go Speed Racing's Division 1 driver, or maybe this was early season 3. Season 2 to early season 3. Go Speed Racing had only one Division 1 driver, and it was previously owned by Chris Baldpaul, the number 22 driver. His best track was Kentucky, no doubt. He won both Kentucky races, pure domination. Their D2 driver list was full. Dragophy, I don't know. Dragophy was the number 6. Roush, Ford, he was definitely one of the best D2 drivers that season. Or well, the first like half of the season, he was pretty good. Just kind of couldn't get it done like Chase Elliott in 2016 and 17. Forza Blade, he was one of the D2 drivers, which was the most dominant D2 driver. And he also went on to win when he took over ownership and changed it to, what was it before? It's the Blaze Technology Motorsports now. I forgot what it was. Forza, it was Forza Motorsports. I'm an idiot. Champion Roberto, the number 12 driver, he fell off after just a couple races. And Chinese, why not? He was the driver, the number 22 in D2. I don't think he really ever drove, to be honest. But yeah. Ford Blade Go Speed Racing now, Blaze Technology Motorsports. Anything else you guys want to add? I'm trying to think of anything else because this isn't really the longest episode. I don't want to talk about one topic too much unless it's kind of entertaining. But I kind of get to that point. Playoff stuff. If you guys want to, you can bring up playoff stuff or anything. I think we should go on by about 10 more minutes at least. I'd say 10 to 20 minutes. Yeah, we could do some very, very early playoff predictions on the list that we have currently the day before the tryouts. So this is the D1 list from pretty much the last season, just their new cars. The team rosters were updated from what I know. They were updated from what I know. So you can look at that list there if you need a refresh or something. So I'll start off. I'll say that I'm gonna go off team first. I'm gonna rank. Not gonna lie, this season they're looking strong. I'm gonna try not to be biased here and kind of be under biased. Like I'm gonna try to put my team just a little down.
I'm going to put Bear first place.
I'm going to put. I don't really know. I mean, all 3 teams are pretty, or the 3 like big top dog teams. I wouldn't call Fusion Motorsports a top dog team. I'd call them an up and coming team. I wouldn't call them a top dog team. I said top 3 teams since the start, changing names, owners, drivers, but still remaining the same team in general. It would be Blaze Technology, Bear, and I'm going brain dead. Penske Racing. I think I'm gonna put Penske Racing number 1. Why? Because they've got 2 new drivers. I think, honestly, my predictions is Venus Man is going to be fired from his position in the 3 car. Because I think STP could find a tryout prospect that's a young gun with a quick fuse. Ignore that. And I think those rookie drivers can really bring some talent to that team. I think if they really bring talent to Dodge as a whole, I think they'll replace.
You never explained why you put Penske at number 1 though.
Well, that's what I'm trying to finish. I think if they get a new young gun, I guess, to replace Weenus in the number 3, or someone on the team, and they do some private testing. I know Bear Motorsports has done private testing and private meeting. I'm not gonna say stuff about that, but I know some teams are probably doing private testing with their D1 and D2 drivers, just private testing Gen 4 and or Xfinity cars or something, and trying to learn with each other, learn how each other race. And I think if STP Motorsports, God, I didn't even say it right. It's STP Racing, but then it's Penske Racing. I think if Penske Racing gets that down by the time the first few weeks are, or by the time we're a few weeks in the season at most, I think Penske Racing can really take off and could possibly become the best team of season 4 and possibly get their first championship. I'm gonna put Bear Motorsports at number 2. Yeah, I think Bear Motorsports is gonna be number 2 because Ford Boy, myself, I have gotten, I think, the most wins in this league. Won the championship last season, got second in this championship. Finished fourth in the season 2. God, I'm getting mixed up. Season 1 championship. If we go to Adam the driver, the number 9, and I am considering these new cars because they're different from the Gen 3 and actually all the other generations we had before. The Gen 2 and Gen 3 were the same body, just, yeah. One was better than the other by a decent amount. To it, yeah, I think the number 9 of Adam, he's got a contract through to the end of season 4. He's on a 2-year deal, season 3 and season 4. I would say Adam was definitely the second best driver Bear Motorsports has ever had. Always drove the number 9. He made the championship in season 2, finished 3rd, and then also finished 3rd in the season 3 championship, running out of gas with a decent lead with just half a lap to go. Unfortunate for him and Bear Motorsports that both the drivers ran out of gas in the last lap of the championship. Really wanted Adam to get that championship for Bear Motorsports, was just half a lap short on his fuel strat. So those two at least can definitely provide some good racing. Good teamwork for Bear Motorsports going into the next season. Bacon Puela. Bacon is the season 1 champion. Drove the number 18 Toyota, and then he drove the number 18 Chevrolet in season 2 and into early season 3. And then his team kind of got shut down. His team started and season 3 went for, I think, 1/4 to maybe half the season. And then there was only like 2 drivers, and then just one of them went. I think one of them. I'm trying to think. I think one of the owners went to Bear Motorsports in Division 2 after something happened, and then Bacon was by himself. It used to be one of the top dog teams until, as I said, like halfway through season 3 it was just forgotten about and pretty much done for. I'm trying finding an owner for Dynaco. It was owned for about 3 weeks by by executives. So, yeah, I think Bacon being the season 1 champion, just barely missed the season 2 championship, and actually won the last race for Toyota in season 2 because they went back to Toyota. He went back to Dynaco Racing within the last 2 days of being owned. They still kind of fell off as just him, but then he He's barely won that championship race in Darlington in Season 2. Got the last win Toyota's had in at the moment. Especially for him. Him and myself are kind of big rivals, so they're not really rivals, but yeah. A lot of history together, him, Toyota, me, Chevy, so I think now him being on my team in Bear Motorsports and the 48 car, I think he can really help this team if he stays active. And then I want to quickly go here. NASCAR, to read what they are saying. To NASCAR God. NASCAR God has always been a pretty decent driver, especially at Dover. I mean, he's been really good at Dover in the last couple seasons. But he just skyrocketed in the playoffs. The last race to make the championship in his 95 Fusion Motorsports Dodge. He won Elwood. Pretty good fashion, too. Just some burnouts on the Dale Earnhardt 500 logo. And then the next week, he actually won the championship race. A couple car lengths ahead of Forza, ahead of the champion. Did really good in Charlotte. So he got 2 wins last season. The last 2 weeks of the season really took off there in the playoffs, especially the round of 8 and on. So he'll be driving the 88 next season. He's been doing pretty good in testing. I think that's why Brimmer Sports will be number 2 next season. Yada yada down the list. Supreme says number 1, or well, 1. Brimmer Sports signed former champion and keep an original team intact pretty much. Number 2, Blaze Technology Motorsports. One-man show, but he won the championship. Mans is a beast. I will say that. Blaze Technology Motorsports did a lot better than I thought they'd do with just one driver for pretty much like the whole season. He was, I would say, the most dominant driver in Season 3. Not by an insane amount, but by a pretty good amount. I'd say probably one of my wins was probably just an oddball win. I'll say that. So Forza to go out and win that championship in his first season of that team by himself, that's astonishing. Number 3, Penske Racing replaced 3 drivers, Money, Marquis, and Manto, which Money went to Fusion Motorsports. He was the one that made the Pepsi 400, clutched himself into the playoffs, and I think he finished 5th or 6th in points. Close to making that championship, really starting to clutch up in those playoffs. Manto, he was signed up, or he was, I don't know, inactivity, so he's kicked off the team. He's had for practical downgrade since he doesn't really know those 2 guys that well. For Roblox and Weenus was decent in Season 2 in the beginning of Season 3, but he kind of fell off, inactive. I think lost maybe a slight bit of talent, or really just remembering how some tracks handle exactly doesn't help. Lag is a big issue for Weenus. Roblox Master driver in the number 8 next season. He's got some pretty good potential for Penske Racing. But he said Supreme said, but himself and King are still probably one of the best, or some of the best in the league. Noting that King ran out of gas, I think 3/4 of the way through the championship race. He was just about, like 2 turns short of making his pit box, but unfortunately he ran out of gas in that Lowe's Ally 48 Dodge, the championship. 4th, Fusion Motorsports, nothing really exciting except manufacturer change. And that's really the only team we have not heard any news from, is Fusion Motorsports. We've not heard any news. Besides that manufacturer change, we haven't heard any lineup lists, any possible prospects going into the tryouts. And Forza's been typing for a good probably 10 minutes here, so I'm getting ready to read a story. Going on for about 40 minutes now. And let's see. Oh, good lord. Okay. Forza just wrote probably like 2 paragraphs here, so I'm going to just read off. Forza play. This is all from him. Supreme even went, holy god. Forza said he ranked number 1 latest technology motorsports. Literally won 2 championships in 1 season without any help, which is true. He completely dominated in D2 and pretty much partially dominated the D1 season. 4 wins in D1 and I believe 7 in D2, dominating the championship race at Michigan in D2. That Ford Performance Mustang. He also said, and BTM has a potential dynamic duo in Snow and Forza. Snow is going to drive the round number 10. He's been doing pretty decent testing. He did pretty decent the last in the playoffs last season. He was one of the drivers that clutched up too. He won at Dover. Pretty good battle there with Snow. So Snow did really good there. Snow really kicked up the gears in playoffs. Number 2, Penske. They got Supreme and King. Need I say more? No, you don't. Those are 2 really good drivers for Penske. He put number 3, Bear Motorsports. They're easily a top 30 team with a veteran Ford and the championship talent and young Adam, or talent in Adam. I read that like backwards. And young drivers on the roster. And then 4th to Fusion Motorsports, still a pretty much new team as well. They're currently in the shadow, so we'll see what they produce, which is true. Haven't heard any news from them. They're being pretty quiet. And then to what he's going to say, or what else he said. All right, some of my predictions for the postseason are that Forza comes in with the number 1 seed with 3+ wins, and King comes in with the number 2 seed, and Ford rounds out with number 3 seed. I just feel like these 3 are the most consistent in the league, and without a doubt, going to be battling for that regular season title. Number 4, I'm going to have to go with Fusion. He got snubbed out of a championship berth by 1 point, and I just feel like he's going to go on a fucking tear. Okay, I'm going to read that. I'm going to reread that. He got snubbed out of a championship berth by 1 point, and I just feel like he's going to go on a fucking tear this season on a revenge tour. Number 5, I'm going to go with my boy Snow. I know he can get some wins under his belt, but he already got 1 last season in the playoffs, so I know he's coming strong. Number 6 will be Adam. He's coming off of a heartbreak last season after running out of fuel in the last lap of the championship race. Let me remind you, this is what I'm saying. Let me remind you, he had probably a half-second lead, and he was half a lap from winning his first NAPRA championship and ran out. Sad for him. Back to what he said about Adam. He said, but I know he's still got it in him to make it back. And number 7, Supreme. He had the pace to make it to the finale, but was shut down due to bad race times and lag. I'll say that, and lag. Given the opportunities, he can get the job done. And number 8. This is playoffs, by the way, people. Number 8, lastly, Money. Money, just like Fusion, he was snubbed out of the championship berth by less than 3 points. So I also expect him to go on a revenge tour. So same as Fusion, 2 Toyota drivers on the same team. I think he's right. I think this is going to be the greatest season the NAPCS has ever said. Well, he didn't say that, but I think it's kind of what we're hinting towards. But it could easily be the best season. I mean, season 3 was really good, but I think this can be a pretty good season with new cars, other manufacturer changes, new drivers possibly, D2 and D3. Supreme said, I made the predictions that the Championship 4 driver will go on a slump, aka Championship hangover, which is true. I thought I was going to into Season 3. I thought after that Season 2 Championship win, I thought I'm probably going to go in a little slump, maybe get like 3 wins and then finish like 5th or 6th. I'm going to finish out with a good 2nd place in that season, so he's not wrong. That could definitely happen, but I don't think it will. I think it could with these new rookies and the new manufacturers, cars, teams. People want revenge and redemption, so could happen. I think it may for a couple of them, but I don't think it will. Could definitely a higher chance of it than the last couple of seasons, but I don't think it could or will. See what else to say here. Supreme also says that he predicts that a driver will go on a tear, meaning that one driver will just go on a complete tear, kind of like how Forza did last season. Forza says, I also want to add on, everyone should keep their eyes on Division 2 this season. We never know. Might see the birth of an NAPRA superstar this season, which is true. That's what we saw out of Forza himself. He came in later in the creation of NAPRA, and now it's coming out as the co-owner. Just over Supreme. He was a candidate, probably like 1% over Supreme of becoming co-owner. He came from nothing to creating his own D2, or well, not really creating his own D2 team, but coming as a D2 driver, kind of an average driver, to just taking off. Went to owning the team, driving D2, and got himself a D1 spot. Went on a freaking tear in both divisions, especially Division 2. So that can definitely happen. It can even happen in D1. Like, hell, even Roblox Master could possibly even take off and have a Forza season in D1. Pretty much anyone that has the talent can get that done, possibly. Supreme predicts that someone will win a race, make the playoffs, and win the championship. It's kind of how it goes. Oh, and I'd say the last question I have for you guys in Forza, if you don't want to, don't type more than a few sentences or a couple sentences or something. The last question I have for you guys, that I have, Supreme or if Forza may have one or two, but this is the last one I have. Which we covered this before, but now with how many tryouters we have, especially since we saw in the fun races, it was a good amount of fans and people wait for tryouts tomorrow, being 15 minutes from tomorrow. All those people that came and even the ones that are gonna be doing private tryouts. How do you guys think the playoff system, all the way through next season, including in the playoffs, will work with the possibility of new rookies coming into people want redemption, revenge, a couple new D1 drivers coming up from D2 and just coming up from skill and everything, like Roblox Master, Venus maybe coming back, yada yada. How do you guys think that will work? Covered it before, but just a little bit more to cover. So how do you guys think that'll work?
This time, I'm gonna be completely honest. I think the rookies, or I think only one rookie would actually become something in that already. I'm just being completely honest.
Who do you think that rookie would be?
I don't freaking know. I don't know any of the rookies. I haven't been online that much recently, so I don't have a chance to like talk to these people and see them drive.
That's true. When I say, I guess I mean anyone that came just before the playoffs too in the D1. So like Roblox Master, what do you think he'll do on your team? Number 8 car.
I think he'll be fine. I think my whole team will be fine. Not
So
gonna
lie.
lie.
I think all the teams will be pretty fine.
I'd be like, oh, every person on my team is gonna win a race. So of course, I know most of their advantages, but I also know like our weaknesses and stuff. Of course, our weakness is probably like lacking a real consistent star on the team. Like King can't really make every races, and I've been hella streaky as of late. And
Yeah.
Weenus was just coming back from like years of inactivity in Roblox after also coming back from inactivity. Oh shoot, I accidentally muted myself. But after showing some speed during the playoffs, I think he'll continue that weakness. We'll just have to wait. Excuse me, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. I think we definitely have a rookie come up and do that, but I don't think it'll be the most likely. I think with all the drivers we have, being Yumi, Forza, Fusion, King, yada yada, etc., I think it'll definitely be one of those like original 8 to 10 drivers that really kind of dominate the season. Maybe get into the playoffs, Uh, yeah. Wait to see what Forza has to say here. Supreme also said on the last question, he said he actually predicts that Supreme and King will win like half the season. That's a bold statement. Forza says, as I said before, a lot of hidden talent in this league, so you never know. One of the teams might find lightning in a bottle. It's just gonna come down to who can scout the best, I guess. Which I'm not. I'll say this: as the owner and founder of Bear Motorsports, I'm not scouting for D1. My D1 lineup, I'm pretty solid with. Bacon, he may be a bit more inactive, not gonna lie. But Bacon can welcome Fusion, the owner of Fusion Motorsports in VC now. Back to what I was saying. Bacon Poila, I think he'll be probably the least best on Bear Motorsports just because of inactivity, and he's not the most active still. But I definitely wanted to take a chance on him, especially since I've been pretty thick and thin with it. Well, not really thin, but I've been through some pretty good times with him. NASCAR God went on a tear in the playoffs, and hopefully going to continue that momentum throughout next season. Forza Blade says, as for playoffs, I think they'll expand either 10 or 12 drivers by season 5. It could expand before the start of season 4. I'll say this: the schedule and everything is due by December 8th. The lineup for all divisions is due by December 4th. So pretty much by December 8th, December 9th, that's when everything's going to be ready for next season for the most part. At least the first few weeks. But I think it'll most likely say at 8 to 6 to 4. So it really shows some battling to get into the playoffs. Supreme's gonna finish what he's typing. Oh, and yeah, Fusion, I don't care. You can talk if you want to. Fusion, if you want to talk or want to type, I'll ask you the question. Just don't take like forever. How do you expect Speedweeks to go, including the 500? How do you expect them to go? How do you think they'll go? In a kind of short answer. How do you think the playoff system's going to work with possibly some new rookies? You don't have to do like one word. You can do a couple sentences out there. Just don't take more than like 5 minutes on those answers. What else did I ask Supreme? I'm kind of forgetting. Oh, how good do you think? What do you think will be the best teams ranked 1 to 4 next season? With some detail if you want to. Supreme said, I still have one spot left on my team. Maybe I can get a driver that is money's caliber, hopefully. Fusion said, good for those 3 that I asked already, besides the team ranking thing. Oh, and Fusion, I want to ask you about Fusion Motorsports. Since you guys are going to Toyota, I haven't heard much news about you guys. How is your team been doing in your tests? So that's number 1. If you've been testing or having your drivers test or what you've heard from them. Well, you don't have to, but it was kind of an opportunity I know Bear Motorsports took to kind of test with each other for a few laps at the tracks that were published. You don't have to. I'm just saying. Or how do you think your driver's going to be next season? Do you have any prospects? And who's all even in your lineup anyway? Yeetus, you, Money. So a 3-driver team. I know you and Money went on a pretty decent clutch into the playoffs. Yeetus kind of just joined. Yeetus did pretty good, I'd say. They also plan to sign Buddy after tryouts. Remember, there will be 1, 2, 3, depending on the amount of drivers that pass tryouts, including private tryouts. There'll be 1, 2, 3 new D1 drivers. Yeetus is currently their only prospect since Yeetus is still a new driver. He's still pretty much a rookie. So technically he is still a prospect. That was all from Fusion. Back to what Forza said. Forza said, well, I'm going to be honest about Money. I don't feel like he rises to the occasion. I mean, he had 2 5th-place finishes that prevented him from a championship spot. But it's true. I think the biggest thing that really kind of broke, I think part of the missing rings on Money's season. I don't even know what that emoji is, but okay. The Fusion sent, it's kind of odd, but okay. Back to what Forza said. I think Money, part of the missing rings, and that's another question. Actually, I'll ask you guys so I don't forget in like 10 seconds. If you guys can pick 1 or 2 drivers that you think missed an opportunity or had an opportunity or anything, or someone you expected to do expected them to do good, but then they did kind of or you thought they do this, thought they do that. If you guys watch the Iceberg, you'll know the missing rings, like what these drivers were missing, like they went on a good run or kind of missed and then kind of missed championship, maybe did a little bad in the playoffs. I would say Money. I think part of the inactivity, a little bit. He didn't have a whole lot, but I think there's the inactivity and a little bit of getting screwed over in a couple of races. So I think that's the missing rings for Money. Number 2, I would probably, I don't really know who to put in that spot. I'm gonna have to put Supreme. Supreme is a great driver, one of the best in the league. But I think his missing rings were lag, not being able to make races, and I think with part of the setup changes we had in the playoffs, like a little bit different setups, more experimenting, I think it just kind of pushed him back a little bit. So those are kind of missing rings on Supreme. Forza said it would probably be Money in Fusion. He said about Fusion, you also got cucked out of a championship spot by less than 5 points. True. Supreme hasn't really said anything about that yet, so. Damn, this will be the longest Pro Wrestling Hub in history, I think. Well, we did have like a 1 hour 40-minute video, but missing rings, Chris Baldpaul. I think for Chris it was inactivity. That was the one thing. If it wasn't for that, I think Chris could possibly would have been the Season 3 champion. If Chris didn't quit the league, I would honestly put him at 6 wins. 6 wins, first or second in the championship. I think him and Forza would be battling each other. Well, just think. Actually, this is what I gotta say. Imagine if Chris didn't quit the league and he continued to own Go Speed. What would Forza's future? I think Forza still would have went on to win the D2 championship and probably
Forza probably would not have won the championship.
I think he could have possibly made the championship. I don't know. That's if he
right now as he would have been if Chris would have stayed. If Chris would have not quit the league, Forza would not be a champion. He would not be doing this well. I'm just being completely.
I think Forza would have won the D2 championship no matter what. But I think he maybe could make the championship and battle Chris because we know how good he is at Charlotte. But I really don't know if he would be in the 47. Because I know Chris is really good with his team owning. Chris was driving the 22 Ford Mustang. If Chris didn't quit the league and kind of go inactive there, I think Chris most likely would have been the Season 3 champion. Yeah, Chris Baldpaw definitely probably the biggest missing rings case. The biggest prospected drivers that was new in Season 3 for the most part. Or wasn't really well known a whole lot in the league. I know people knew him, but not in like league history, so yeah. Forza said he would have started his own team there anyways. But it's true. I think he's talking about SCR. Never mind. So yeah, I think Season 4 for D1 is going to be phenomenal. With how these top 3, top 4 teams are going to work, especially Fusion Motorsports switching to Toyota, and them not really having much history in the league, but I think 1 or 2 or 3 wins. I think they're really coming back up to be a competitive team, just like Bear, Penske, and BTM. Forza said, either way, plenty of missing rings and missed opportunities, but on the good side, it just intensifies drama even more for Season 4, which is true. We have a lot of redemption and revenges coming back for next season. New cars, a couple more races, more variety of tracks, a couple more drivers, more growth to the community. So he is completely right there. I think this is going to be the greatest season ever. Season 3 is going to be tough to beat, but I think Season 4 could possibly blow it out of the water. So definitely looking forward to Season 4. Season 2 and Season 1 for NAPRA Brake Series and the NAPRA Batteries Truck Series, I think they'll go pretty well too. Not as good as D1, but decently good. So, yeah, Season 3 will be memorable because it was like 2 times. It was a good bit more. I'd say it was probably a good 25% bigger than Season 2. He said it'll always be memorable because of the length. Fusion says Season 3 was like the entire year. Yeah, because of the hiatus. It would have been half the length if it wasn't the hiatus. And Supreme says Season 2 was the best NAPRA season. Which I see the old OG, more simple point system was in play. The lock-in if you win system. Honestly, I didn't mind that point system, but I think as we grew, got better cars, more tracks, yada yada, back and forth, I really think Supreme don't start. I think that Season 2 was probably just slightly the second best season. I think Season 2 was freaking phenomenal. Not because I won the championship, but just the racing. Especially Kentucky. Kentucky had great racing. I mean, we took it off the schedule for Season 3 for, I forgot. I think we replaced it with Texas because it was a new Texas. And Texas actually went to be the third most boring race of Season 2 by ratings. Or Season 3 by ratings, I think. Not the All-Star race Texas. That was one of the best races of the season. But the old Texas before we had the revamp. Fusion said Kentucky was the debut of STP and Dodge. Yes, it was. And it was in the Challengers, actually. But then they went to the slightly more aerodynamic Chargers, and that's where it really took off. They did get a win at Indy, though, in the 16. The Challengers. So they definitely had wins in the Challengers, but yes. Forza said the debut of the constructor and manufacturer. The debut of the constructor and manufacturer championship this season. What do you mean constructor? Season 2 Texas was decently boring. The debut of the team manufacturer championship. That's true. That's true. Yeah, Fusion's first race here was Season 2 Texas. I have... Okay. And yeah, it was for Dynaco Bacon Fear, which is a team that fell off not too long after Texas, I don't think. Spring's first race was Vegas in Season 2. That was a pretty good race, not gonna lie. I know, I don't know, I think we had 2 races Season 2. I know one of the Vegas races, it was Weenus's first start in the number 12. Or no, it was like the 95. And me and Emerald were battling it out for the win, and Emerald beat me by like half a car length. Okay, let me tell you guys. Which, when he consumed executive, that's exactly where Fusion Motorsports came and grew out of the ground to Dodge and then right back to Toyota. What if your guy, if you guys remember, just in your racing career in general, what tracks, what are the top 3 tracks you guys have won at in general? Like, how many tracks have you won at the most, top 3? My number 3 would be Texas at, I think, 3 wins at Texas Motor Speedway, the OG Texas Motor Speedway. Number 2, it would be 5 wins at Talladega. Yeah, Texas, Talladega. I'm trying to think of number 1. I think my number 1 would be Vegas at just number 5 too. I mean, I think they're tied. I think Dega and Vegas are tied. Could be 6 if I won that that race a really long time ago in Season 2, but if you just said Dega, Daytona, and I don't know. Supreme said my first finished race was the Daytona Road Course Season 2 because I didn't finish Kentucky, Vegas, or another mile and a half track. I can't remember. Or, well, no. He said because I didn't finish Kentucky. Or didn't finish. He said his top 3 would be Kentucky, Vegas, or another mile and a half. Can't remember. Fusion said, am I the only one here who hasn't had a dominant season? Possibly. Jesus Christ. Supreme, do you mean like career league wins? Like, are you in like 10 leagues? Or do you just mean like in general? Because Supreme is at number 1, Dega.
Back when I first started racing, when I started back racing, I was been a bunch of low ball leagues. I was just winning them all.
Oh, so okay. What would you say if it wasn't for the low ball leagues? Besides low ball leagues, what would you say it was?
I would literally have 2 wins right now.
In Dega and Daytona?
Huh?
Dega and Daytona?
No. If we're the Dega and Daytona ones were pretty much from low ball leagues.
What if it wasn't for low ball leagues? Is like
I will have 2 wins, Dover and Elwood.
Oh, you only have 2 career wins in every single like pretty decent league you've been in.
Yeah, 2.
You're like Chase Elliott in 2016 and 20.
By literally anything and everything.
You're like Gordon and Chase, and you're like Gordon in 2015 and Chase in 16 and 17. Pretty good finishes, but just barely misses wins. So Supreme would be a Dover and Elwood at tie 1-1. Forza Blade said number 1 Michigan got my second T2 championship. Number 2 Auto Club. Forza really reminds me of Larson. Larson, he just goes on a freaking kick. Hey, he did drive the number 5 car in D2 and got 7 wins. Not 10, but 7. Or not 10, but he still got 7. He's insane at 2-mile tricks. Larson's best track, I would say, is Michigan. And that's Forza's. He's pretty decent at Auto Club, too. So Michigan, or actually he's pretty good at Auto Club. He's pretty good at both of those. So Forza plays at Michigan, Auto Club, and then Kentucky. He says tired of the Kentucky slander. Yeah, Fusion has another 3rd win. My top 3, yeah, would be Vegas, Dega. Well, actually, oh wait, no, Dover's number 3. Dover's 4. So 554. Texas would be number 4. like OG Texas. They could all be tied because I know Supreme barely beat me out at Dover once in turn 3 and 4. He just barely got by me to win. So 5, 5, and 4, 5, 5, and 4. 14 of my 25 wins were at those 3 tracks. Rest of my win, well, pretty much like 17 of my 24 wins were at like 4 tracks, and then the rest of them are just scattered. Daytona will probably be 2, so that's like a 20. So it's not really a whole lot of tracks, but it's just scattered. I mean, I'm really good at other tracks, but I either get screwed over or get worse as the race goes on. Supreme says, I also do have 3 second place finishes at any Daytona 500 all time. Fusion said, the absolute banger of a scheme. I ran here like 3 times. This is 32 bang scheme. Yeah. So, Supreme, Fusion, and Forza. Do you guys have any questions for each other, me, or anything to say before we finish the Road Racing Hub Speedweeks edition, I guess? Best scheme of Season 3. Shit, I can't remember. I'd say, I'm trying not to be biased, I'd say either my Coors Light or, I don't know, I forgot most of them. I like Fusion's patriotic scheme, but I would probably put that number 3, number 4. Supreme's Miller Lite scheme, I didn't like it first, but then it grew on me. I know, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to find pictures of them. I would probably say number 1. I'm gonna rate my top 3 here. Number 1. I can't find any pictures. Number 1, I'm gonna just go off of memory. I'm gonna say Fusion's Dunkin' Donuts scheme that I remember. That thing was sick. Number 2, my Coors Light car. And number 3, Fusion's patriotic car. And I'd say the runner-ups are King's 48 championship car and Supreme's Miller Lite car. Did I say Fusion? I'm at Forza. Forza's patriotic car. I'm at Forza's patriotic car and his all-star car. Same thing. Oh, you actually posted the picture of your Duncan car. We're going to take a look here. Okay, yeah, guys, if you do not know, this is pretty much just a podcast. You guys can do something else and just listen to this. You guys don't, like, legitimately have to. Yeah. This is pretty much just a podcast. Yeah, if we look at the 2 schemes that is not mine, let's see here. I'm gonna post these images.
Oh my god! Oh, the 12 game.
The 12 scheme was pretty good though. I'd probably put that at number 6, 5, 6, something like that. I'm gonna show you guys a scheme on the video. This is the Dunkin' Donuts car that Fusion ran. Look at all that in its beauty. And then what I have number 3 behind mine would be Forza's patriotic car. Forza's patriotic car. Yeah, that's what I put number 3 behind my Coors Light scheme. Anything else that you boys have to say?
Not at all. I'm really tired, but I probably won't go to sleep.
You know what I should have put in that image thing instead? I should have put that gif of the cars going to Auto Club with the logo in it. But I put Forza's championship picture. So Fusion and Forza, no other things? Or no, Forza doesn't. Supreme doesn't have anything else? Fusion, you have one more thing? I don't. I think
Yeah, I don't
that'll do
remember
it.
that.
The
Either.
longest Road Racing Hub ever going into Season 4. It was 2 times as long as I thought it'd be. I'm tired. Everyone's tired, I think. An hour and 15 minutes. So thank you guys for coming to the first Road Racing Hub before Season 4. Yeah, we all deserve a good rest. This is FordBoy07, your host for Road Racing Hub. Supreme, your co-host for Road Racing Hub, and your 2 guests, Fusion and Forza Blade. And we are signing off. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Enjoy this little 2015 Auto Club flyby or 2014 Auto Club flyby. See you guys in the
No,
next
how about
episode.
you just go to freaking sleep already? Go to